My friend. Hi, Susie. Hi,
L.
Susie. What's
We here,
up?
y'all. We here, y'all.
Let's
We
get it.
here,
Let's
y'all.
go.
Show it off. Show your hair, show your nails, show them bras off.
Woo!
To all the sweet
Thank you.
girls
Oh my
ready for the
God.
storm. Show your money like a boss. Go show it off.
Now we dressed alike. Hello? Y'all, modern day babe, let's get it. Let's go. Let's go, y'all.
I've been fucking with the skits of the car now. Let's move to the top of the list, taking off with it.
What's up? It's your girl El the Drug, and when I'm not busy being a modern day bae, I am locked in with my favorite DJ Rich Beats. Put some respect
I
on
see
it.
you.
Yeah, let's get it, y'all. Woo! I'm energetic, ecstatic. Let's get it, y'all.
Period. Y'all, I'm
That's
especially excited for tonight's episode. Okay. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know who the guest is, but like this is like a really big deal for me. Let's get started. First and foremost, if you are new to the stream, please fave my favorite DJ Rich Beats in this thing. Hello. Welcome to the newly featured Modern Day Babe with L, the only show on tag navigating the modern way to find your bae, and the only live stream podcast tackling the challenges of modern day dating and romantic relationships. If you are new here, I am your hostess, Elle the Drug. I'm happy to have you here. Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited for tonight's episode. We are broadcasting episode 6 of season 2. Okay. And this is a weekly show we do every Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And it is brought to you by the Scouts. All right, y'all. So let's dive into it. First of all, I have a couple announcements. Y'all know how we start. We got to start off with a couple announcements and things going on in and around the app. Okay. So bear with me for a little. Start off with my weekly content. Okay. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I do the Morning L with Rich Rising Affirmations. That's at 8 a.m. Eastern. Okay. On Tuesdays, you already know where to find me. Here for Modern Day Bae. Here for Modern Day Bae at 11 p.m. All right. On Thursdays, I do Face the L, which is a makeup get ready with me. That's at 2 p.m. And then on Fridays after the Morning L, you can catch me co-hosting the featured show, The Brighter Side, with my girl, Top Badge Low, at 11 a.m. Eastern. We have Rello presents Hot Topics at 9 p.m. And then we have This Is It with Queen K at 10 p.m. All right. And y'all already know what happens at 11 because you're here. Hello. All right. Let's get it. On Wednesdays, we have Adult Talk with Top Badge, Most Sexy for Top Badge, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sign-ups to be on Modern Day Bae with L Season 3 will be opening up on September 1st. So if you want to be on the show, make sure you tap in with me, okay, on September 1st. Everything is linked in my bio to get in contact with me. Also, if you're interested in sponsoring an episode of Modern Day Bae, please contact me on Instagram, okay? It's linked in my bio. Make sure you tap in with me and I can get you those different sponsorship packages that we offer. Awesome. All right. And if you are just tuning in, welcome to Modern Day Bae with L. This is a weekly show we do every single Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern. It's the only show on tag navigating the modern way to find your bae. And I am your hostess, Elle the Drug, okay? And this show is brought to you by the Scout. Okay, so as my mom makes her way to the box, y'all, I'm really excited for tonight's topic. Tonight, I don't even know if we could put it into a question per se, because I think there's a lot to cover. We're going to be talking about how to understand and communicate your triggers, right? And before I bring in my mom, I want to give y'all a little bit of background. I just want to let y'all know, like, this is my baby. Like, this is where I get everything from. This is my love. This is one of, if not my favorite person on earth, one of the my most favorite people on earth. And I'm really, really excited to share her with you all. So, okay, I'm not even going to take a long time, but I'm going to bring her up. Hi, Mommy.
How you doing, baby?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, chilling.
You look good. I like your glasses. Hello. Thank you for coming and doing this for me. I really appreciate you. I know it's way past your bedtime and everything.
Girl,
Okay. So, y'all, we're going to get started. So, Mom, I just want you to give a little bit of background about who you are, what you do, and just a little bit of better idea of who you are and what makes you so great to speak to this topic.
I am actually Dr. Amy Alexander. I have a PhD in counseling and supervision. I spent most of my career in education. I taught eighth grade US history for almost a decade. I worked in a federally funded program for first generation college bound students called Upward Bound here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then I became an elementary counselor for a few years. And while I love them little babies, uh, I'm really built for the older students. I made my way to the high school, and I just left my job in January of almost 30 years as a high school counselor for multiple reasons. But I also started my own consulting firm a couple of years ago, and so I am trying to, in my retirement, build that business so that I can hopefully help educate and enlighten folks on the power of trauma and how it's not just something that happens to you directly, but something that is can be passed on familially,
Mm-hmm.
culturally, right, historically, in those ways. So that is my passion.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm really excited to see how this applies to romantic relationships and how we can better understand not only ourselves, but right, how to communicate and how to better understand our partners or future partners. So I normally have a question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and it's in one word, what characteristic do you need for your modern day Bae? But instead of that question this week, I want to ask you, what was the one characteristic that Daddy had that made him your Bae?
Patient.
It's a good one.
And if I had to add another, not had to, but if you asked me about two, it'd be sense of humor. Because you cannot get through life, 26, 27 years without that. I cannot. So being funny and being patient is really
I love
important
it.
to me. And I think that's different for everybody, right? Because we're all individual folks and we need different things depending on our lived experiences, our socialization, our family of origin, and where we come from. But for me, that was the important thing.
All right, y'all. For those of you just tuning in, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Modern Day Bae. My name is Elle. My name is Elle, and welcome to the stream. I'm really excited. I am here with my mom tonight. She's my special guest co-host, and we are just about to dive into the conversation. Essentially, the premise of tonight is understanding how to recognize and communicate triggers, especially in romantic relationships. I would love for you to just give me your initial thoughts on that and kind of the importance of it. Is that something that's important or essential to even having a successful relationship?
I think as we've discussed
I
many, many
see.
times over the years, the most significant and most important, the most centered relationship a human being can have is with oneself, right? So
Mm,
understanding you, understanding again your socialization, your family of origin, your culture, the history behind all those things collectively or individually is really, in my opinion, significant in being able to understand what you need in a partner, right? It might not be what Susie down the street needs in a partner, but understanding you and whatever you've experienced. Most people in this world have experienced some type of trauma, at least that's what the research says, right?
right.
So understanding how those events have affected you as a person and being able to be humbled, not disrespected, right? Because sometimes we get those things confused. To be humbled in a space that says, okay, I might not have the answers to how I should interact with this because this wasn't given an example to me. Like, for instance,
Mm,
my mother, your grandmother, was never
mhm,
married. So
mhm,
I did not ever get to up close and personal see that type of relationship for me to
right.
model my own intimate or romantic relationships on. So understanding where we come from, what has affected us, and who we are in those moments, and who we are. I'm gonna be different after each. conversation I have with another human being who I'm vibing with, whose energy I feel, right? And we've had that. Like, I'm not the same person after a significant a significant conversation I've had with you as I was before, because now I have new knowledge. Now I have different information, a different perspective. So keeping open to that. And I'm gonna just say, really, for historically marginalized folks, especially Black folks, which is where a lot of my research is, we're quick to be on the defensive for good reason.
Right.
But recognizing that in an intimate relationship, and that's with best friends, that's with romantic partners, that's with parents, siblings, all that. Recognize
Right.
that first, that I come from a culture who's been disrespected, disregarded. So that is a part of how I interact with other human beings, is really important. Regardless of who you are, what your ethnic background is, where you come from, who you come from, knowing that about you is really important, and understanding how trauma can become a part of your relationship in ways that you might not necessarily want it to be, and ways that you don't even recognize that it is. To be able to kind of move from that and become the partner, the person, and in the type of relationship that you want, that suits you. I think oftentimes we look, especially with social media, on, relationship goals and all that. Your goal ain't my goal. I don't
Right.
where
Right.
you're coming from, but my goal is to be at peace and
Yeah.
understand me. And again, like, even we talked about when I got married, I kept my own last name. That was important to me
Right.
for a lot of reasons. And a lot of men was like, "Why you couldn't be my wife?" Well, first of all, I wouldn't want to be your wife if you're that insecure, that I
Please
can't
let them know.
right? I can't be me without threatening who you are. That's a problem. Um,
Right.
so keeping even something as seemingly simple as keeping one's own last name in that relationship is really important. It provides agency, right? It gives us autonomy over certain things. And I certainly feel like I never needed a man to vouch for me and have his last name to legitimize who I am, right? To speak for me, because I ain't even had my daddy's last name. So there's
Right.
that, right? And so recognizing that piece of who I am is not knowing my father, the way a lot of people knew their father, has colored the way I see relationships, the way I see men, the way I see myself. And I did not completely grasp as a 25, 26-year-old woman the things that I grasp in the space of a 55-year-old woman.
Right.
So all those things are really significant in my mind into understanding how we select people. And I think there's also, just real quickly, no relationship is a waste of your time. It is teaching you who you are and what you value in other people, right? The type of relationships that support who you are, that value who you are, who see you and who hear you and who validate you. So it's never a waste of time. It is you learning you. And again, what's the most significant relationship we have with anybody? Ourselves.
Very good. That's a lot. That's a lot to kind of delve into. But I want to take that back into like a little bit more about the triggers and understanding them. I think that, like you were saying, with different relationships, we certainly understand different things about ourselves. Different relationships can even tell us like different triggers or different characteristics about ourselves that we didn't even realize. How would you suggest one like pinpoints a trigger, right?
I would say paying attention, right? That's the key to everything, almost everything. Pay attention. That goes back to knowing you, right? Okay, so why am I mad? Right? That's a thing. Why am I bothered by this? Why do I feel disrespected by this?
Mm,
And it takes really reflecting on your lived experiences and the significant relationships in your life to be able to come to some type of answer around that. And do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. I'm still searching for those things. But
mm,
understanding your family of origin, what was valued by them, and how you've been influenced by that, what was valued in relationships, right? Like, we've been together for 55 years, but okay, is the time important, or was y'all motherfucking happy for 55 years?
right, right,
Okay.
right.
But being together ain't a whole bunch of stuff if you have not grown, if you have not been fed, if you have not been watered.
Mm.
So understanding yourself, again, it comes back to that in my mind, understanding and paying attention to what made me feel that way just now. So taking ownership of my own role in whatever relationship I'm in is important. And how do we do that? We figure out our triggers. We figure out that we're not less of a human being by saying we're not perfect.
That goes into that like accountability piece too then.
Yeah, because it acknowledges, and what I've always, I think, tried to tell you and your sisters, it validates that other person. And oftentimes in this world, women, Black folks, and especially Black women, are not validated in that way. And
Mm.
so that's important also when we not talk about just romantic relationships, but woman friend relationships. Like, I'm gonna need you to validate me. I'm gonna need you to hear me and see me and understand that I don't move the same way in this world as a white woman, as a Black man, as any other demographic. We have
Right.
a unique space. Friendships are important, and people who we respect and respect us. That's a foundational thing for me in a relationship. If you don't respect me and if I don't respect you, then we cannot move forward in this.
The accountability piece that you highlighted, and I really appreciate that you highlighted that knowing ourselves leads to understanding our triggers, right? You have to know yourself. You have to spend that time with yourself. You have to invest in yourself. Part of that investment is your time and your energy, and putting that into yourself helps you not only know yourself but understand yourself. And whenever you understand yourself, that's part of the self-love journey. Thank you for including that. If y'all are just tuning in, this is Modern Day Bae with Elle. I am your hostess. This is a weekly show we do every single Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern. I am sitting here with my mom tonight, y'all. My mom is my guest co-host tonight, and we're talking a little bit about understanding your triggers and communicating them for more successful relationships, right? Not just romantic relationships, but also relationships with your family, relationships with any sort of loved one, right? Relationships with your colleagues, just better relationships and communication in general. So very excited. All right, y'all know the deal. It is the Boss Bay panel segment. I'm here with my mom. She's guest co-hosting. This is Modern Day Bay every Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern. And I got Big Banks. Stop playing. Big Banks, go on ahead and tell the people who you are, what you do.
Ladies, ooh, all right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're sitting in the back, if you're lurking in the back, bring yourselves to the front, hit the star, because I'm Banks, Big Banks or Banksy when I'm feeling nice, ladies and gentlemen. And today we feeling nice because we on Elle's show. Thanks for having me another week. Like she said earlier, I got a feature show on here as well. Mondays at 12, Manifesting with Banks. Come get a firm, baby. Okay, elevation and progression by any means necessary. We're back this September, or October. So watch out for that. Watch out for that. A little break right now. Other than that, come check me out. Energy, energy, energy. Because when it comes to energy,
You already know. All right, my girl, my A Susie B. Tell the people who you are and what you got going on, baby.
Hey, y'all know who I am. It's me, Susie, aka Big Bag Harley. Okay. I host bingo every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you like to play bingo, come through, catch a vibe. There's always a winner. We do that. I host games on Instagram for free diamonds. So come do that too.
Okay, y'all. So we're talking about understanding your triggers. We're talking about communicating your triggers in a relationship. It's hard enough to do that in a friendship. So in a romantic relationship, that's like 10 times the burden. So the question of the night is basically like how do you pinpoint your triggers and then communicate them, right? Have y'all had any experience in that? Is there a direct like moment when you remember like, ooh, I'm triggered by this and I need to tell this person, or is it something that you don't like to communicate? Like, I want all the tea.
I don't
What
even know
you
why
got
you
for
have me
us?
on this episode. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm still dealing with this.
Me too. That's
I,
why. Me too,
you asking
baby.
me, and I don't even know what my triggers are. All I know is I go from 0 to 100. Okay, I don't even like confrontation. Okay, I hate confrontation so much that I will avoid problems. Okay, it'll be like, okay, we're good. And then I just cut you off because, like, you know what? You've triggered me so much and I don't like to deal with confrontation that it's just like block, delete, stop communicating. You got the hint. We out of here. So, you know, and I'm 30. I'm 30 years old saying this. So it's like, if I didn't understand this by 30, you know, we're going to try again at 40. We're going to see how that works. But in the meantime, we working on it.
I feel like that's a lot of us. Like there are some things that I'm still learning. Like, you know, even recently, like in the last couple of days, Mom, earlier you said something like, whenever I have a conversation with you, I'm not the same person that I was when I started the conversation. I have learned so many things about myself and just like that I didn't know. I almost needed not only the first experience to put me in the situation, but I needed the second experience to understand how I was put in that situation. And it just takes time and it's a process. Susie, what you got to say, baby?
I agree with Mommy Bae's perspective on acknowledging your trauma or acknowledging how your relative experience can assist you in acknowledging your triggers. As people may or may not have heard me reference before, I experienced homelessness, destitution, sleeping like on the side of the railroad tracks, homeless. So I experienced a lot of triggers during that period. Though it was a bad situation, it helped me learn myself in that way. So that when I did transition and started to form work relationships, friendships, try to be romantic, I was aware of things that would set me off. Which I'm quick tempered. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm a fire sign. It don't it don't take much to do that, you know. So I feel actually I may over communicate that. Because I want you to understand. Once I feel like I've justified a reason to leave you alone, then that's what I'm going to do. Like, and it's because I felt I've communicated this, I've acknowledged this, or I came to you as an adult and did my portion and I wasn't heard or I wasn't respected, you know? So now that's a trigger for me. I don't feel safe, and that's a problem. So I kind of feel like I'm the opposite. I may tend to over communicate or have a higher expectation for trigger awareness because I feel like I'm communicating that. I'm going to be open because that's a thing for me. It's prevalent. It's real. So I need you to understand that. So I'm always talking about it in some way.
Okay, so so that's interesting because I really wanted you to tie in that communication piece, and you did. So, essentially, you're saying that because it was so prominent for you, you talk about it enough so that people truly understand how significant that was in your life.
Yeah.
So, Mom, how would you like unlearn that habit? What are some suggestions you have to like?
Well, let me say that unlearning is the highest form of learning because it requires us to go all the way back, right? And figure out how we were socialized, how the things we've experienced affected us, and to then proceed to deal with those in a way that's best for us. But just a few things I want to point out. And ladies, you are beautiful and amazing, and thank you for being on here. I'm not even coming from. I'm just saying I appreciate you. Shoot. But a couple things. I heard Miss Susie B say over communication, and I don't know that there is such a thing, but then you equated it with nagging later on, like I don't want to nag. Oh, communication is not nagging. It is saying this is what I need from you and I need you to understand. Can you like acknowledge what I'm saying, because this is where I'm coming from. If somebody can't do that for and with you, then perhaps they're not the right person for you. Also, going back to Miss Banks, 30 is not old, girl.
I know. I'm
Like,
young.
you're like,
Pretty young.
I'm 30.
Trust me,
Girl,
I know.
I'm 55 and I'm not getting it all together yet. And if we stop learning at any point in life, then that's when life ceases, right? We are supposed to be lifelong. We are supposed to be learning stuff until the day our last breath leaves us. So I just want to let you all know that these things are very normal. And I think, you know, I respect and appreciate social media. It has a lot of good stuff to it, but also it provides these backdrops to what we've already been socialized in, telling us where we should be when we're 30 years old, when we're 40 years old, when we're 55 years old. And those are just false like deadlines. They're false goals. So we get to where we get to when we get there. And that's another thing about knowing yourself, not letting society dictate to you, like, oh, you should be this, you should be that. And I can't help but notice we're all Black women in this frame, and understanding that we have been disrespected for centuries.
Mm.
So we're not just dealing with our own individual selves or our familial socialization. We're dealing with cultural socialization, with historical socialization to how Black women have been viewed and valued or devalued in this society. And that all plays a part in what we think we deserve in relationships. Spending time with yourself, I think, is one of the keys to understanding yourself, to just getting in a quiet space, turning off the social media and the ideas that what we think is pretty, what we think is smart, what we think is successful, and just being in a space of really naked, emotionally vulnerable place. Getting a safe space for yourself, a peaceful
Right.
space for yourself, a sanctuary, if you will, right? I'm there with my girlfriends when we can just be who we are without any pretense, without pretending, without worrying about who sees us in what way. It's the sanctuary. And so we all need a sanctuary.
I love it. I think one of the questions I wanted to go back in with the panel on is how do you know when you're triggered and you need to communicate?
When I'm triggered, and it's not like a quick reaction response, like you can tell the difference when somebody's doing something to antagonize you. Like when you're actually triggered by an event or an experience, something in that way. For me, it's usually a feeling first, kind of like deja vu. Like I'm instantly absorbed by how I felt originally. Like I'm in
Mm-hmm.
that experience, in that energy. And depending on the environment, immediately I'm looking for a safe exit,
Mm.
um, because I need to, number one, take account of where I am and who I'm around. Am I in a space to be vocal? Am I okay, like physically, mentally, to converse about this or communicate? If not, then I look for my safe exit, and that's when I go to take time to process. I want to take the time
Mm.
to think about what I have to say before I say it, because I don't want to receive what you're saying out of anger. I'm really trying to practice be quick to listen and slow to speak. And so that helps me when I'm dealing and processing with triggers for something that's
Mm-hmm.
super serious for me. I have to be quick to listen to myself. What is my body saying? What are my emotions saying? What is my environment saying? And then for that person, how did what they did, said, operated? Why did it trigger me? How did it trigger me? And how am I going to communicate that? Sometimes being a Sagittarian is just blunt. It's just the truth. All these concepts and practices we learn about communication just really bring those into emphasis when it comes to triggers and communicating those, because those are sensitive anyway.
And a lot of times they scare us because it's coming from a place of vulnerability. So it's like, if I tell you this about me, are you going to use it against me? Are you going to use it whenever you're angry with me or whenever you want me to do what you want me to do? You know what I mean? And I think that's something that specifically women consider a little bit more because there's always that power dynamic.
So I have physical and emotional triggers that I understand more than actually like physical. So for me, I know that when I feel like hot, like I'll get like my body will get really hot from the inside. It starts kind of like in my stomach, and I'll just
Mm-hmm.
like I can feel it like traveling up my chakras into like my throat, and that means
Mm-hmm.
like I'm about to have like verbal diarrhea and go off. So what I usually do in that instance, everybody knows that I love me some coffee. I'll take myself to Dunkin' real quick. I'm like, you know what? Let me log out. Let me go outside. Get away from my phone. I'll put my phone on D&D.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go out or water, just like your mom. Like showers are very big for me, or lakes, rivers, anything water based is something that I'm very, 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 very big on.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just sit by nature. I'll go on like nature walks, trails. Like I'll just like go and I'll walk around and I'll recenter myself and try to understand what took me to that point. As soon as I don't feel right in nature or by water, lakes and stuff, that's when I know that that was the issue. And I use my notes pad because my phone is on D&D, and I like shut off from everybody. I won't answer texts, calls, Instagram messages, nothing. And I'll go into like my notes pad and be like, okay, this is what happened. And then what would I do? I start reading my affirmations to myself, this feeling will pass. This is not my feelings are not a fact, and so forth and so forth. And that's when I understand, and I try to avoid it going forward.
That patience, that understanding, that word that my mom used at the beginning, that patience, that understanding, right? And so I appreciate y'all sharing that with us. We're at 11:53, y'all, and as much as I love this conversation, I feel like we do this every week, but we have to come to a close. So I'm gonna have the Boss Bay go ahead and do their outros and drop out before we go ahead and close out the show.
Doing an amazing job. Shout out to my cohort and Boss Bay, Banksy, and our host, Elder Drugs. Make sure y'all tap in, hit me with the favor. Stay tuned for all our content and be around for the teams. And remember, although we had a very nice and fulfilling conversation today, still the hood way is what?
The only way, baby. Don't play with her.
Your favorite streamer's favorite streamer. You heard Al say it earlier because it's a fact. My name is Banks, Big Banks sometimes, and Banksy when I'm feeling nice. Shout out to all of you guys that came through to support L and me on L's show today. Shout out to the moms up there and all the technical difficulties. Shout out to L for being the most patient person. Teach me patience because I don't got none of that. Okay. Peace, love, and gratitude to all of you.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a couple final thoughts before we say goodbye to my mom. So one of the things that I really took away was listen to yourself, right? Understanding that like accountability goes into it, and really in order to be accountable, you have to understand yourself, you have to learn yourself, you have to know yourself. So really taking the time to spend time with yourself and and reflect on how you feel, and understanding that your feelings are important to understand in the first place, right? Another thing that I took away was the importance of being around people that truly want to see you win, right? That want to understand you, that have a will to see you do well. And surrounding yourself with that sort of energy truly makes a difference, right? Because you can be the best person that you can be. You can give your all plus 10%, right? And it not be good enough for the wrong crowd, the wrong people. So really, really make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the people that truly have a will to see you succeed. Those are the things that I kind of took away. My mommy, you're amazing. I truly appreciate you being here. Do me a favor and give your outro. Tell the people.
Well, firstly, I want to say thank you for having me. You are beautiful and amazing, and there's not much in my life that I've done that's better than you. And then also the other young women who were here with us, just blessings and peace for sharing and having the courage to do that. And all the people who are tapping in, there is hope and there is a space for you. You have a purpose in this world. I'm going to go and pack my stuff for Charlotte. Thank you for being you and really appreciating and respecting humanity. That makes me more proud than anything else.
As long as you're proud, I'm good. I love you.
I love
Safe
you.
travels. I'll call you tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Love you.
Peace, everybody.
All right. Bye, mommy. Good night. Good night. Good night, y'all. What an amazing show. That was my mom. I'm so excited to be able to share my heart with y'all. Like, y'all don't understand how special that was for me. Shout out to my dad. He was in the comments too. Y'all, this was another great episode of Modern Day Bay. I'm your hostess, Elda Drug. I want to give a big shout out. Thank you, Swan. I want to give a big shout out to my mom for being here for the co-host, obviously Susie B and Big Banks for being on the Boss Bay panel this week. And of course, my favorite DJ Rich Beats, always holding it down. Also, a big shout out to our sponsor, our media sponsor this week. Y'all will see all the Instagram reels and everything, so make sure you stay tuned for that.